Good evening, everybody. We are at Old Trafford for a midweek edition of the Gary Neville podcast. You can't get enough of it. Here's a bonus go off the back of a really good round of midweek games, the last of which was here, Gary. Manchester United have drawn with West Ham. You, with your own eyes, have seen a little bit of action towards the bottom of the league. You saw Leeds put on a great display last night. You saw West Ham come away with a point here. What's your sort of interpretation of what you see just either side of the relegation line?
Yeah, I had Leeds, Burnley and Wolves to go down, and I'd looking pretty comfortable with that. I'm not going to change my mind, but I have to say, watching Leeds last night, that they showed me something different. A lot more physical. I think that the spine of the team, the three centre-backs, I think Ampadu sat in front of them, and then the two centre-forwards, Calvert-Lewin and Mecha, and then obviously the lads that came on. I thought that they could pick up points. They could win games. They could cause teams some real disruption and sort of physically sort of hurt them. I thought the wing-backs were outstanding. Real energy. The way in which they went about the business. And we've seen tonight, I think it's hard to find good wing-backs, players who play that sort of position naturally. So, yeah, I think last night was a good night for Leeds. Really good night. They were dominant. They really did physically out-muscle Chelsea. I thought that, obviously, they were nearly there on Saturday, weren't they, against Manchester City? And you think about that, then maybe that's given them a little bit of confidence that let's just go for Chelsea. And they went for them in that first 10 minutes. I always think when you go to Elland Road, you shouldn't expect anything else than a right good battering in that first 15, 20 minutes. If you get through it, you might be okay, but quite often, you know, you go to Elland Road, you expect it to be hostile, you expect the crowd to be on top of you, balls played forward, balls into the box, a relentless sort of aggression and sort of tackling, and that's what I saw last night from Leeds United. It's definitely a blueprint that, that's not just a blueprint for last night, it should be a blueprint for the club full stop, and how they should perform week in, week out. And I thought they had the players on the pitch to do so. I'd watched them earlier on in the season when they had, I think, Nonto and James in wide areas and Peru, I think, up front. I thought they're just a little bit lightweight. They're talented players, those guys, those lads. Don't get me wrong. They've got a lot about them. I like Nonto particularly. James is a threat on the counter-attack. But you're getting into winter. You're in the Premier League. This league's become more and more physical over this last 2 or 3 years. It's gone back 15, 20 years in respect of the size of the players, the set pieces, the balls into the box, the long balls forward, the throw-ins. Everything's now demanding aerial duels to be won, and physicality and aggression. And I think that last night, Chelsea, we'll come on to obviously what them shortly, but they played a team of men, and Chelsea will look like little boys out there against them. So I think that is something that they've got to build off. It's the first time that the coach has gone with a different system. Leeds fans have been asking for a plan B. They got plan B. Plan B sometimes doesn't come off. That does look like it's going to work off the first outing. So, yeah, really good from Leeds. I thought Leeds last night were a lot more intense and better than West Ham tonight, but that's purely as well because West Ham are away from home tonight. They're playing a little bit more positional in the sense of sort of playing more counter-attack, playing a little bit behind the ball, Manchester United at home, but they hung in there. I don't think Manchester United were very good, didn't cause them a lot of problems, but I think that Nuno will be really happy. He'll be particularly happy that he makes a substitution. And Bowen's on corners. Bowen goes into the middle, basically, as one of the players attacking it. Irving comes out, his substitute to take it, and there's an immediate impact. Obviously, the ball comes back out to Magassa and they score. But, yeah, look, there's a long way to go. Leeds or West Ham, based on what I've seen there. I think that Leeds 11 last night that started that game, if it can stay fit, there's a couple of big buts there for Leeds. If it can stay fit with those two up top, I think they could be okay. But there's a long way to go. I think they're slightly just edged for what I saw from West Ham.
Yeah, just jumping about a bit here because it feels pertinent. Obviously, Leeds-Chelsea is one of the great historic fixtures, and so is Leeds-Liverpool. And I wonder whether that is a great game for Leeds to maintain their momentum given the state of Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, someone's having a laugh at me at Sky, aren't they? You get your programme through, you get Leeds-Chelsea on a Wednesday night, and then you get Leeds-Liverpool. You're thinking, is that right? I've got to go to Leeds-Chelsea and Leeds-Liverpool.
Where you're universally popular.
I'll just get my hood up. and my helmet on.
There's no hiding place
No,
in that
but
game.
I didn't know what I didn't know what to expect last night in the game. I maybe thought it might be a little bit sort of edgy, a little bit scruffy, but it wasn't. It was a really good game to watch. I enjoyed it. And look, Saturday is going to be interesting. Can Leeds go again? They'll be confident. They'll be really sort of have good belief, but physically, can they go again at that sort of frantic pace that they set at times in that game last night? And obviously Liverpool. What's happening to Liverpool is a mystery from where we saw last season. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Some sort of great games, upon us. And, yeah, I enjoyed last night's game as a spectacle. I thought it was really surprising watching Leeds play how they did and, hurt Chelsea as much as they did. And it'll give them, like I say, a feeling that, we can get out. We can stay in this league. Sorry, not get out of this league. We can stay in this league and we can push up the table.
Yeah. So what about Chelsea? Because all of us just thinking maybe they're the closest to Arsenal, and they drew with Arsenal at the weekend and so on. They were right in the mix, and then that happens. Is that something you were waiting to happen?
Yeah, I've never bought into this Chelsea going to challenge for the title. I mean, getting close and maybe getting up to third or second, maybe, because there's a lot of inconsistency around near the top of the league. There's only Arsenal performing at a level that you would say is anything like at the moment. I think you go to Leeds United, and look, Leeds haven't been great recently, but there has to be a little bit of understanding of what you may face. I didn't think there was any of that from Chelsea. I think the coach made changes. He played a team of a very young team. They've got young players anyway, but it was Chalobah at right back was awkward in terms of on the ball first half. They had a mountain of passes, a million passes in the back three that was driving me crazy. And you start off passing slowly, and we'll come on to United in a little bit. Don't start a game bloody slowly. You're playing for a top goal. Get the game moving. Get the ball moving quickly. Get your tempo in your passing. Get your touch right. And the drift is walking on the ball. There's so many passes back the way. And when you start like that and a team are on top of you and Leeds are playing forward, you're playing right into their hands. What do Leeds United want? They want the back three or back two of Chelsea with the right back Chalobah, tucking in, playing as a three in possession. They want them to play across the back slowly. That's the easiest thing in the world for the opposition team. So don't do that. Feed the ball quickly into positions further forward where you've got your more talented players. But I have to say, Chelsea just to me last night didn't approach the game correctly. They didn't have the actual beef out on the pitch to be able to handle Leeds' muscle. Simple as that. They were out-muscled, out-fought, everything in the outrun. And you thought that when Chelsea got back into the game, they could sort of come and you thought, well, this could be interesting. But they got caught by a pass back from... it was Gusto to Chalobah, was it, I think, and then it goes back to the goalkeeper, and it's a mess. And let's stop talking about Chelsea being a title-winning team. Let's stop talking about it. It's not there. They haven't got the goalkeeper for it. They haven't got the centre-backs for it, and they haven't got the centre-forwards for it. But they'll finish in the top four. I think they've got a lot of very good players. They've spent a fortune on that squad. They've got some real talent in there, but they're miles away from being a title-winning team. And I know what a Chelsea title-winning team looks like. And the Chelsea fans know what a title-winning team looks like. They've won plenty of them. They've seen the physicality and the durability that you need to go and win a league. It's not all about playing football. You have that physical aspect, particularly when I think you get into these months of December, January, February, where there are big demands upon players. People might say, oh, it gets cold. It gets colder. Games come thick and fast. You look at your Christmas calendar. The players are playing these games. I've got about 12 games that I've got over Christmas, and the lads are obviously having to go every 3 or 4 days, and you've got to really play a more robust game at this period of the year. Yeah, the pitches are immaculate and they're fantastic, but you've still got to demand that sort of physicality from your team. And I just think Chelsea, they're way off it in terms of certain areas of the pitch. Their spine's not good enough. They've got some excellent players. They've got some real talent. There's a lot to work with, but they're nowhere near a title-winning team. And I know they keep teasing us and tickling us every few weeks when they win a couple of games. It's, oh, Chelsea up there nearly 7 points from Arsenal. What if they win this game? And we keep saying it, and they're nowhere near.
Well, a similar sort of narrative, a couple of places further down the league for Manchester United, who tease and tempt, and who twice in the last fortnight have had a chance to go into the top 5 and haven't. And sort of the prevailing mood here, I sense, is one of anticlimax tonight.
Yeah, if you saw those... obviously when we threw back to the studio and the camera stays in the stadium and they're picking up the faces of fans that are still sat in the actual sort of seats, real dejection, real dejection. I feel so disappointed. So disappointed. You know, against Everton, I think everyone leaves that and they might think, well, okay, you know, we've been on a decent run. You can have a one-off game and that can happen. But speaking to Ruben Amorim before the game tonight, and I said about this opportunity to go up the league and jump up the league and get into fifth and level on fourth, and thinking about what could this season start to look like. And they've missed two glaring opportunities. I mean, they could be second or third, having won these two games. But there's far too many ifs and buts and maybe and could-haves and would-haves with this team. And you know, Ruben Amorim absolutely will be. He'll be angry, frustrated, and gutted because, and we saw obviously the executives saw, you know, Jason Wilcox, sporting director, and Omar Barada. They'll be absolutely gutted because I've said this before. You see a team that do it once, and that can happen, but when you see it happen twice, it starts to become a pattern of what you are, and this was a massive opportunity. You saw the games that are lined up. Everton, Crystal Palace. They won the most difficult game at Crystal Palace. You know, West Ham at home, Wolves on Monday. And you're thinking, 10 points. That could put Manchester United into a serious position in the league. You know, they could be up there in third. And really then sort of starting to think about the programme they've got when everybody kicks into European football and the cup competition's kicking again into sort of February, March. But unfortunately, they're not taking their chances to get up there and be up there. And I don't get it. I don't get the lack of urgency and the lack of intensity. I don't get the slow play. I don't get the lack of sort of risk in the game. I don't get it. You know, Ruben Amorim can't be telling them to go out there. In fact, I know he's not, because in his interview with me pre-match that me and Peen did, he said, I want more intensity from the very beginning. Now, I suspect, unless he's having us over, he's not going back into the change room saying, guys, play slowly tonight. He's going in there and saying, lads, let's get the ball moving around quickly. Let's run forward. Let's play with real threat and vigour. And it doesn't transpire out on the pitch. So, I don't know.
Why does that happen?
Peter, I've got no understanding. We lost games here. And we drew games here. And we drew big games here. And we drew sort of what would be lesser games here. But I don't think we drew games in that way. I don't think we lost games in that way. We would, I think we'd throw the kitchen sink at it. I think you'd see both full-backs flying forward, centre-backs in the box, goalkeeper... Jeez, what's I've kicked over them? A bottle of water. That's the best tackle I've seen all night.
It is water, isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
It is water. It could be vodka as well, to be fair. But I think you'd see goalkeepers coming up and going for corner kicks. You'd see mayhem. You'd see things happening. You'd see a real rush and a real massive, I'm not saying embarrassment, but a real massive urge to not lose this game, to not draw this game. And I don't see that. Why? You may as well lose as going, you know, I just don't see it. I don't see the actual appetite to go and throw your whole life at the game and everything you've got and throw it forward and take risks. And Bruno does look, I have to say, a little bit like he does that. I think Bruno at the end there, you see him, he's like the kid in the sort of, in the playground, he's trying to get everywhere and he's trying to take this, he's trying to shoot from there. I actually see that little bit of panic in him that we can't draw this game. I don't see it in enough of the others. I don't. I see this still being quite a sort of like a bit of a, let's play there and pass there and we'll let the game drift and we'll sort of walk towards a throw-in and we'll take things a little bit easy. That can't be what it is. And I don't know what to say other than they are what they are and they're showing us to what they are. The 7th or 8th and 9th, they just don't want to jump up. And look, maybe it'll happen in the next couple of weeks. Because what I would say, this league at this moment in time isn't very good in terms of quality. And the consistency is really, really dire. It's poor. Everyone's losing. Everyone's dropping points. Everyone, apart from Arsenal, Sunderland and a couple of others, are not playing anywhere near the standards that they can achieve. And you know, Ruben Amorim's on here. You can see it in his eyes. The frown, can't you? You can see where he's at. He'll be absolutely livid but gutted that his team can't deliver at the point where he needs them to. I've got no doubts. This is not complacency from Man. He'll be looking at that table a week last Monday before he gets to that Everton game and thinking, right, this is it. Come on, this is it. We're off the back of an international break. The Christmas charge. We can go into 4th and 5th. Teams are dropping points around us. They lose. He then gets lifted a little bit by what happened at Crystal Palace at Sellers Park, which was a fantastic victory. Wasn't great in the first half, but to come back and win there, any type of victory there is excellent in any time. And then tonight he's thinking, right, it's set up. Let's give our fans a real boost. Thursday evening, they can get back into town, they can have a drink. Maybe a few of them have come over from different parts of the world and they can have tomorrow off and they'll enjoy a night in Manchester. And then they get that and they're walking across the forecourt not happy. And that's a real disappointment. But look, there's no point in keeping talking about it. They're not good enough. And they're not as good as I think Ruben Amorim would want them to be. And they're not as good as I'm sure that the people in the director's box would want them to be. And certainly not as good as I'd like them to be, because I'm not seeing anybody out there that I don't think wants to be. I'm not seeing any sort of what would be the manager's lost the dressing room. There's none of that type of stuff. But why aren't we seeing this real fierce approach and attitude towards the game? I don't know.
No. We shouldn't finish. I can feel Villa fans' eyes on the back of my neck.
Where did they come from?
Well, where did they? I don't know. My imagination.
No, Villa, I meant.
Villa, yeah. Well, they came from behind at Brighton.
I know.
In a very exciting game, and they're third in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
And so they deserve proper coverage and interest.
Fantastic manager. Where they were a few weeks ago, you were thinking, this looks a little bit ominous, a little bit dangerous, but a little bit of consistency. A few wins, and you do fly up that league quite quickly because everybody's dropping points. And Unai Emery has been around the block, and he's a fantastic manager. And where have they come from? Because they were right down there, weren't they, a good few weeks in. And now they've started to hit a little bit of form, but they've got a good, like I say, a really good manager, good squad, and they're starting to perform. And they've got some talented players. And any form of performance, or like I'm going to use the word consistency again, is going to see you travel quite quickly up that table, and they deserve to be where they are going to be. Why not? Everyone else is dropping points. Just go and do what you need to do. I mean, go and take the opportunity that is there in front of you to go and, shot the world. Go and finish second. Anything could happen. So yeah, at the moment, great for Villa. I really like Villa as a football club, full stop, and I like Unai Emery. I think he's a fantastic and great coach, and he's one of the best in the league. So yeah, well done to Villa. Well done.
Yeah, I think we're nearly done. I just wondered if you want to have a quick word on Fulham 4, Manchester City 5.
Yeah, I watched a bit of that game. I was flipping back and forward. City looked like they were sending a message, and then, in some ways similar to the Leeds game, almost giving so many chances and sort of encouragement. So unlike Pep Guardiola's teams, who pride themselves on great football but also brilliant defence. Few goals against, but you can get at City, you can score goals, but they are still a threat going forward. Foden looks like he's getting dangerous again. You've obviously got Haaland up front, who's sort of in unbelievable form. So, yeah, Manchester City are just a threat through the fact that they've got players who've been around the block. They're the closest to Arsenal, and they've got some exceptional players, and they've got a world-class striker and manager.
Okie dokie. I think that's it.
Yes,
for midweek, isn't it?
I will see you on Saturday.
Absolutely. Ellen Road.
Thank
be noisy.
You.
Thanks,
it
Gary.
Will be. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, let's get into it. We're doing a deep dive into all the volatility in the Premier League right now. Specifically, the relegation battle and that chaotic chase for the top spots.
Mm-hmm. And the goal here is to really figure out the blueprint for success and failure at this point in the season, because the sources we have show this incredible contrast. You have teams finding real physical muscle, and then others just drifting.
And that's where this gets so interesting. We have to start with Leeds United. I mean, how did a team that was struggling so much with a new plan B physically, outmuscle Chelsea to the point that the analysis called them little boys?
That language, it tells you everything, doesn't it? It was a seismic shift. Leeds basically recognized what they were doing wasn't working, so they brought in a system built for, outright physical intimidation.
Okay, so break down that system for us. The analysis is pretty clear that this aggressive approach, this right good battering in the first 20 minutes, that's the blueprint they need every single week.
It absolutely is. And that's because the Premier League has changed. It's become much more physical, almost old school.
Or aggressive.
Exactly. So Leeds' Plan B uses 3 center backs for solidity. But the key really is Ampadu sitting right in front of them, just protecting that space.
And up top?
Up top, they use two big center forwards, Cal Luen and Meta. That pairing, it just forces the opposition to play long. You get constant aerial duels, you win set pieces.
You're forcing mistakes in dangerous areas.
That's it. That is the literal definition of finding muscle.
But surely a team like Chelsea, a top 4 team, they should be ready for that, right? Was this just a tactical blip or something deeper, a structural problem?
The critique says it's structural. They just failed to approach the game in the right way.
How so?
Well, the sources mentioned some awkward tactical changes, sure.
Yeah.
But the fatal flaw was the pace. It was so slow, just a mountain of passes across the back three.
And that slow possession is just...
Yeah.
It's playing right into the hands of an aggressive, pressing team like Leeds.
It is. You give them all the time in the world to get organized. And if you connect that failure to the bigger picture, well, winning a title needs durability.
Yeah.
Especially in winter.
December, January, February, that's the grind.
Right. And the analysis is brutal here. It says Chelsea are miles away from being a title-winning team because that spine just isn't there.
When you say the spine, just for anyone less familiar, you're talking about that central core, right? The goalkeeper, center back, center forwards.
Precisely. That's where you need absolute quality and robustness to win a league. And Chelsea's just, it's not there yet. Top 4 maybe, but the title? No.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit, we see a similar kind of mental failure, but maybe without the physical part, at Manchester United. The mood after that West Ham draw was described as real dejection. They missed 2 huge chances to jump up the table.
Yeah, and the sources all point to this recurring problem, a pattern of far too many ifs and buts. They had 2 golden opportunities to really climb the table, and yet there was just no urgency, no intensity.
Which is so frustrating, because we know their coach, Ruben Amorim, explicitly demanded more intensity before the match. So why doesn't that translate?
I think it speaks to a deeper issue, a lack of mental appetite. The sources call it the appetite to go and throw your whole life at the game.
To take risks.
To take risks, yeah. It's not just a tactical choice to play slowly. It feels more like a psychological reluctance to push. And that leads to this pattern of anticlimax we keep seeing.
Which brings us, I guess, to the big anomaly here. Aston Villa. Suddenly they're up in 3rd with Unai Emery.
And they are succeeding by basically being the anti-Man United. Villa has just shown a little bit of consistency. And this really gets to the most important point in the analysis. Villa are flying because the league's overall quality right now is really, really dire.
Everyone else is dropping points.
Everyone. Chelsea, United, Spurs, they're all dropping points. So if you just show up and perform consistently, even if you're not perfect, you can shoot at the table.
So if we pull this all together, winning in this current climate isn't about playing flawless football, is it? It's about, what, robust application? Attitude?
I think so. It's about finding that physical edge and, honestly, just basic consistency.
Which does raise a bigger question. If these basic, almost old-school traits, aggression from Leeds, simple consistency from Villa are enough to succeed, is the overall standard of the league actually declining? Or are we just seeing how valuable sheer attitude is in a chaotic season?
Yeah, that's a good point. And the sources do keep mentioning this return to physicality, to tactics from, 15 or 20 years ago. And if even the top teams like Arsenal and Man City, who just had that crazy 5-4 game, are struggling for defensive balance, maybe the era of dominant, consistent defensive solidity is just over. Something for you to think about.